Right, we'll get into it. Welcome back, guys, to another In the Rough podcast. Obviously, we'll recap what's been happening over the last week with the Masters. Lots of big change in results there. Obviously, coming up the next month, and obviously the players from last week, and obviously kind of Rory interview and a few other pieces. And if you haven't checked it out already, we had a great conversation with Mia Baker yesterday, which will be going up on another podcast shortly as well. So make sure to check that one out. But otherwise, we'll get straight into it. And one of the, I guess, more interesting piece of news over the last week was the announcement of slight changes at the Masters coming up later next month around not having the par threes anymore, which I guess are iconic and one of the main iconic bits that are associated with the Masters, having all the crowd around. So that's a big change.
I'm surprised because they've managed to have it they didn't have it, but they all sort of did it last year, didn't they? I thought with like Rahm skipping it and stuff like that, but I think it's usually when they have their girlfriends there, don't they? There's the caddies, that's the whole thing. But it's just sad. It's just not going to be the same. no Tiger, no par three.
But I don't understand why there's a change being made. It's not like we're going into further issues with COVID. If anything, we're coming on the other side of it. So I don't understand why the change now.
It's an unnecessary risk, I suppose, from their viewpoint.
But wouldn't it have been last year?
Yeah, but I don't know if they did it fully last year, if it was just like the players just did it themselves because usually you have your wife or girlfriend and your kid or whatever, and you're bringing quite a few outside people in.
Okay.
So you can do all the testing and stuff,
Yeah.
but that's what I think. If you can do the test and prove you haven't got it, surely you can. But I suppose that's a lot of logistics for one thing that fans aren't even going to be there for.
But it's not though, because you've got the lateral flow testing, which takes 15 minutes.
Lateral flow testing isn't reliable. In all honesty.
Yeah, the big thing about par three, I suppose, having the big crowds around it, and it's quite an event. But if you're not going to have the crowds, it's sort of pointless to just do a par three course for no reason.
You're packed in bunches around the hole as well, aren't you? Compared to on grandstands or anything where people can be separated out from a seating side, and on a long hole, you've got people 50 yards away from each other. Whereas on a par three, I guess you're gonna be closer together.
Yeah, it's tight.
I think it's
I just think it takes away. You can watch a golf sort of have 10,000 fans spread out, and you can still watch a hole 18. But if you're doing a par three, it's usually for the fans. You're not doing it to scout the course or do a practice round or do anything. The only purpose for it is to do it for the fans and get hole in ones and do crazy spin and do whatever.
I mean,
so they're not there.
I don't think any hole in one is going to beat the John Rahm shot from last year.
Well, no, because 3 years ago they had back hole in ones.
No, but skipping it on water that much.
Yeah, but they do that every year. They try that every year.
That's insane, though.
People have done that before, but having I think it was at least two, but maybe three when it was Spieth, Justin Thomas, and Ricky Fowler or something. They all holding one back to back or something about a few years ago. So
yeah, fine. Well, anyway, I think they've just chosen the easy option, haven't they?
To be honest, in all honesty, it's something I've never paid much attention to.
Yeah. No, I don't think you need to, but we'll see what it's like anyway.
It's not something I've paid the most attention to, so.
No. There you go. Well, obviously, some of the other big news was Rory coming out this week in his interview, obviously talking about how he feels like he's negatively affected his swing trying to replicate Bryson, whereas some people see it as an excuse because he hadn't even won something for over a year prior to Bryson doing that in the US. So is it just an excuse, or do you think it generally has affected it?
I think it has. One, this is going to aid Shab's vendetta against Bryson, ruining other people's golf swings now. But, but I think the year before, obviously, I think he was the best player in the world, number one before COVID. I think that has an impact. But post that, yes, he didn't win, but it happened very quickly. I think US Open was one of the first tournaments back and those sorts of things. So that probably did change everything else at the end of the year. So yes and no to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Is he frozen on yours, by the way?
Yeah, he's and he's gone. Right, we'll crack on without him. What a loser. I'm
sure, I was going to say, where's he gone?
Yeah, I'm going to replace him with a picture of his favourite player, Bryson, until he comes back on.
No, just put Bryson with like the lips moving when Siab talks.
Or some deep fake or whatever they call it.
Yeah, deep fake.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sebastian, about Rory and his thing?
I think there are elements of that, but then I think as well it's not moany, but it just seems a bit.
But he's not making an excuse and saying, like, to the extent he's like acknowledging, like, yeah, it's changed my swing, and I need to fix it and go back to basics. So at least he's like acknowledging. He's not saying like, oh, I would be winning if I hadn't changed or gone after the speed. He's not like saying that and saying, oh, I'd be like the best player and I'd still be beating all these guys. It's more, it's why he's playing rubbish.
Well, I think as well, like Sehab will hate to hear this, but I think it actually further cements how good Bryson actually is. The fact that he is able to implement that extra speed and actually do it at the top. And Rory's shown it is not easy to do, even for a player at his level. It's not easy to
it throws everything off.
Quickly implement and do that, is it?
I think DJ was the one who came out and said best. He's like he with someone like that, him and Rory are very similar in how far they hit it. And DJ's always just running at 80% of like to control it, whereas it seems other players aren't, and that's obviously why DJ's been so successful, that he can keep it 80, maintain the distance compared to everyone else, and then still win. So I don't necessarily think you need, especially those players who are long already, don't have to add another 20 yards to match Bryson. It's potentially the players who are hitting it 60 yards behind him.
Sehab, welcome back.
Back.
The last 2 minutes, you've been replaced by a picture of your favourite player, Bryson. So,
and you might forever be now. You might be deep faked in to see your lips.
Welcome back. But Sehab, on what I don't know if you heard, we were talking about obviously Rory's admissions that he's been trying to change his swing and speed to replicate the best player on tour at the moment. In your favourite, Bryson. What your opinions on it?
One, I will say I appreciate the candor. I wouldn't. I don't think he's lying or using it as an excuse to cover up, explain what happened to the players or anything like that. But you can see that he has been tinkering with his swing anyway. So to be honest, to actually hear a player say what was a motivation for going through a swing change when he's already pretty much at the pinnacle of the game was interesting. The fact that they notice what other players are doing around them. Having said that, it is utterly stupid because he does not need to add distance. He's only like 10, 15 yards behind Bryson, at the best of times in terms of average driving distance. So why he would need
if anything, he needs to learn how to swing slower.
Yeah.
Because his approach to the green, he can't control the spin that well. Because he's hitting it too hard.
The stuff he needs to improve on is the scoring irons and the putting, not the driving and the stuff off the tee. Because off the tee, he is great. He's one of the best we've ever seen.
Yeah, but when you're doing speed training, it's not just driver. It's going to add yards to everything.
Yeah, but he doesn't need yardage.
No, I know he doesn't. But I'm saying you're just saying, he needs to improve scoring, not driver, and that's why. But he's not just chasing driver speed; it's just overall speed.
But also the thing I find interesting from a player at the top level is hearing him say that he thinks the courses are going one way in terms of favouring players who've got that length, which is why he was looking at it.
But it hasn't. That's the point.
Not. Yeah, that's what I think as well. I think that's a bit silly. That I think it's a case of, yes, on certain courses it's a massive benefit that if you're swinging faster, you can get it out the rough, and you can, even if you're in the rough off the tee, you'll be able to get it out of it a bit better, which is where Bryson's been successful. The area where people aren't giving Bryson credit, including myself, is on his putting and on his play out the rough. That's what's made him successful, not necessarily just bombing it, on every single hole.
Yes, but that distance allows him to do all those sorts of things because one, he's closer to the hole, and two, he's hitting a flipping 9-iron or a pitching wedge in from 165 yards, 170 yards. So it's going to come in at a better angle. He's going to be able to control it a lot better. Whereas someone
at the same time, I don't want to see every other player in the world do that because I think that would utterly ruin the game.
I don't think anyone can.
Good. At the same time, I don't think Rory needs to do that. I just don't see why Rory or the people around him, when he's, because it's fair enough for a player to get into the moment and to get caught up in certain things in like that and thinking, okay, well, Bryson's clearly coming up. He's come back from lockdown. He's got this in the Arsenal now, won a major, and he hasn't won one in a while. So he's looking and he's scrambling to find what's going to take him to the edge, over the edge. But it's baffling to me how the people around him aren't sitting him down saying, okay, Rory, that's not what we need to focus on. This is what we need to focus on.
Yeah, but how many people were there saying that to him? Because with COVID, he hadn't seen his coach for. He was saying about he hadn't seen his coach for 4 months.
No, but Rory wouldn't do that by himself. These pros have an entourage of like 10 people that work.
No, but Rory doesn't. That's the point. He's spoken about this before. He has a really small circle. He used to have like a group of 10, 12, but now it's basically his.
But he would have had some. He would have had some conversation with his coach, even if virtually, like we're having. He would have had some conversation. The people around him. He can't
control every aspect of what. I agree, it's stupid. He shouldn't have done it, and he got caught up in it.
But there's also the fact of I just don't see
how hard it is to change a golf swing, especially at that level. Though that's the point. So once you've gone over the edge, it's very hard to.
But I get what baffles. What makes me think now is him having realised and thinking, "Oh, that was a bit of a mistake." Is it possible for him to go back, or does he have to double down and take that?
No, he just has to go back to basics, basically. And
how does he do that though? Because we've seen it's taken Spieth best part of 3 years to get back to what he was when he first came into the game.
Spieth went to like outside the top 100. Rory's still been top 10s in a fair amount of tournaments and those sorts of things. So it's just you can.
No, but I'm talking about as in the feeling, because now he's realised this. He's going to go through every single duff shot he has. He's going to think, oh, it's because of my swing. He's not going to go, oh, it was a bad lie, or I've got a bad break there.
A player like that, he's not going to think that. Yeah. He's going to. If it is a bad shot, it usually is because of the swing. He's going to understand that lies and what lies are going to do to certain shots.
Well, and Spieth's problem wasn't like often was it was a mentality problem.
Mm.
Like it wasn't a swing problem. Whereas Rory, we know Rory's got, well, outside of some major incidents, has got the mental stability to deal with that stuff. But Siab, we were saying just before Bryson left us and you came back that obviously one of the big things, does this not further cement actually how good Bryson is, because he has been able to add all that speed but maintain level and keep winning?
And
change what other players are doing. That's probably the biggest thing.
I think the change what other players are doing is more of a thing that if you think about it, if he manages to have that effect on more players than just Rory, which I'm sure he will be doing, then that is a monumental shift in how golf is played. But is it for the best of the game? Do we want to see everyone from 180 yards out trying to use a 9-iron, using just one length irons? Do we want to see everyone looking like exactly the same? I think as a novelty, Bryson works in the game, and that's fine. But do I want to see every single person be Bryson? No.
But that's the thing. He's done so much to change his complete body. No one's really going to do that. Rory had the benefit of him being able to hit it that far anyway.
But I'm not thinking of the current players. I'm thinking of the players that are going to come into the sport in future years. So if you look at in terms of, for example, another sport, you look at basketball. Basketball's changed because of a singular player in the modern day, because of Steph Curry. Now every kid wants to be like Steph Curry and shoot from.
Yeah, but that's attainable.
That's a lot more attainable. But does everyone now? Is every kid that's going to grow up? Are they going to now want to be more like Bryson? And that's the case of forget about okay, we don't need to get on the fairway. We just need to get as far down as possible, and then we'll work our way out the rough, and we're there. Is that what we want to see in the game in the future? Because
how it's been trending, but the thing is, kids try and hit it as far as they possibly can anyway, even before Bryson. That was a thing anyway. And two, what he's done with his body to be able to do that, it is impossible for someone to do it like before they're a fully grown man or woman. If a woman wants to try it, I don't know if it would work.
Golf is getting more and more athletic in many ways. You know, the players are, you know, on diet regimes. They're not smoking cigars as they go around anymore. You know, it's a case of the sport is becoming a lot more athletic, so that will creep into it. It's a case of what you want to see when we're old men.
I really don't think many people will even try it or attempt it or be able to replicate it.
The other problem is, people are looking at it, especially younger people coming into the game, like, and you can tell this is what Bryson looked at. There's no points for getting in the fairway. It's just whoever does the most strokes around, that's the end goal. It doesn't matter if it's beautiful or not.
It doesn't matter if it's beautiful or not, yes, to the player, but I think that's where the PGA should be focusing in terms.
But what can they do? Like, why? Like, I don't get what your point is.
No.
You just hate the man.
I haven't got all the answers. Okay, I'm not benevolent, you know, or omniscient in that regard. But I just think that's something that needs to be preserved, or the penalty for going in the rough needs to be worse.
That I agree on to some extent. That if you are out of the fairway, the rough has to be worse, because a lot of courses it has no sort of.
If we are trending towards that, then that's the thing. The rough has to be worse. There has to be, the greens have to be more protected. It has to be a case of, or, you know, the hazards on the course have to be at the length these players are now driving it at. So it forces the player to play it in a different way.
Well, I think it's, like you said, I think it's similar to our conversations the other way. I think it's an endless pit, isn't it, of different options. So we'll move on swiftly, otherwise we'll be here all day. And the only other real news this week, other than the players, which we'll recap, is obviously Motor Caddy have started to launch some of the cellular connectivity on their buggy.
Equipment news, yay!
But like, that's just a pointless, expensive waste of money, no?
Very few people have got the money for that, surely.
I'm sure it's helpful. I mean, you're going to have a screen that has the hole on it for you with the distances that you are and stuff, so you don't have to zap stuff with a rangefinder. But
if you've got a watch, a Garmin or something, surely that's going to be a third or a fifth of the price of what these trolleys are going to cost.
People like wearing watches. Some people like having the most expensive things to show off to their friends.
This is not a case of practicality. This is a case of showing off a bit of wealth, which inevitably golf does come down to a bit as well. You know,
that is true. That is very true. I'm sure
if you got the Motor Caddy with the screen, it's better than the Motor Caddy without one.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a high correlation.
It's always the first item is always expensive, and then it will drip down into.
Will it? No.
Yeah, eventually they do. It'll take years, but
golf equipment prices are just going up and up. They're not becoming cheaper.
No, but as the technology develops, this will become cheaper, and the next thing will be expensive. So then.
But you'd think that with drivers as well, though. They don't. They just charge more because they know people will pay it.
Yeah, but then yes, but that's the point I'm making. So the new driver gets more expensive, but then the old one has gotten cheaper.
Yeah, it can happen. I'm sure there'll be a very
and they're basically the same.
There'll be a strong correlation between people with the nice buggies and the Sim 2 drivers, I'm sure.
Yes.
Anyway, we'll move swiftly on to the players. A very, very interesting tournament because a lot of the top guys didn't perform as well, and our predictions were, well,
bad.
None of our predictions even made the cut. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. Basically, they're all embarrassing, so we won't even dwell on it. But
did you all see Ian Poulter's video after the first round?
Nope.
Yeah, well, they're all 27 over, aren't they?
He had lunch with Tilhat and Rory and Henrik Stenson, and they were a combined 26 over par.
After one round.
On the first day.
See, that feels a lot more realistic as to what we're like. You know, if we ever go on a golfing holiday, I imagine on our first lunch, that might very well be the case, mostly just from me.
Sihab, accumulatively after one round, if we're only 26 over between the three of us, that is excellent going.
That means me and Seb are like scratch, and you're.
Okay.
And I've probably broken 100. You know, if Seba's only got a few bogeys, I've probably broken 100 there. I'm happy with that.
We're playing out of our skin.
Yeah.
What about old Lee Westwood, second again? Is he running out of juice though? Is he too old to compete into Sunday?
He does second place. He's making millions for just finishing runner-up.
Oh no, I know that, but he's like the last two weekends he has not played well on Sunday.
He's made what, like 2.8 million from those 2 weekends. So I second his quote of tomorrow's gonna be a very happy Monday. Yeah, of course it is, Lee. But
I'm just asking, is he capable of winning and competing on a Sunday when his 47-year-old legs have walked the course multiple times?
Not a major, but a smaller tournament like one of the ones that are happening now at the Honda Classic. Yeah. I think it's just also about the pressure as well of the guys that he's been up against. You know, Bryson pairing, I don't think is necessarily the best pairing for him. I think he does
Bryson at the Players.
He did, but I think he works better when he's not as much in the spotlight, where he's just able to plug away and just play his golf without the attention of it almost.
Bryson's definitely he's the most watched player on tour by a country mile at the moment.
Yeah, that's it, and I'm sure that has some factor into it as well, you know. But I think it does prove the point of that you don't have to drive it far, Rory. You can literally be a 47-year-old man playing golf and still be in contention. So, Rory, please watch Lee Westwood instead of Bryson. Would be my request to him this weekend. Seeing as he's taking a rest. Exactly, he's taking a rest. Watch some Lee Westwood.
Yeah. But even that,
I'm sure he's going to be at the driving range for about 7 hours a day.
Yeah. You saw that, but even Mickelson was in contention on day one, and he's 60 odd now or whatever. It just shows like it's not. Well,
but that's the thing of, you know, experience and knowledge of knowing where to position yourself, especially on hard courses, will serve you so well that. You know, that's the thing that me and Tom have mentioned it before. That's the thing Rory needs to pick up. He needs to pick up how to just chart his way around a golf course when he's having a bad day. Because when he's having a good day, he's unbeatable. But when he's having a bad day, he needs to learn to, I guess, just take it almost and
take a step back. Essentially, yeah. Imagine slow down, not go for it. So, yeah.
Not speed up.
JT winning. What did we think about JT winning again?
It was
one of the best week 2 rounds tee to green in PGA Tour history.
It was a very hard fought win, to be fair. He came for a few shots behind as well. So has he got all of his confidence back?
Yes.
What is his poster? What did his interview suggest?
It's just a very good performance, but like. I guess that's probably the difference where you get the likes of him and some others, they will slowly build throughout the week and then into the weekends. And he's shown that. He's historically done that. He's very rarely led on the first day and gone to win. So
I think it just shows that you just need one great round. Because his first 2 rounds, he was like 2 under, and then he had an 8 under. And suddenly you're there, and, you know, on a Sunday, anything can happen. You just have to keep plugging away and not ruin it for yourself. It seems to be what the theme is at the moment. So
I like JT winning. I think it adds a bit of mix going into the Masters, because it means everyone going into the Masters is a slightly different point, because Dustin, who was a world beater at the turn of the year, is now going through his own swing issues with the driver. Rory has come out and said what issues he's going through. JT is back on the rise. Spieth is back in the picture. Bryson obviously on an all-time high confidence, basically. You know, you've still got the likes of your Colin, who's won recently at a tough tournament. Hovland looking in good form. So I think it'll make for a very, very intriguing Masters.
And none of them will win at the Masters, and it'll be someone completely random.
Yeah.
It'll be Patrick Reed.
Yeah, talking of it better not be Patrick Reed, otherwise I'll cancel the podcast that way. Talking of wildcard and out the clock picks, we'll move on to our predictions for Qatar Masters, which you two went clever picks. I thought I'd pick the guy that sounded like lasagna, and don't you know it? He finished in the top 10, and I got some points. So there
Congratulations.
you go. Thank you.
Well done, sir. Well done.
So I went for Roman Langasque.
Langasque. Jesus Christ. You didn't do French at school, did you? Jesus.
I barely did English. I don't know if you can tell. Who went for Andy Sullivan? That was respectable.
Me.
Yeah,
Me. I just went for an English name.
Yeah. And Tom, your guy did not do well, Aaron Rye. So
at least he made the cut, though.
He made the cut, at least. At least they all made the cut.
Was there a cut?
Who knows? But
I don't think there even was a cut. I don't think there was enough of them, was there?
There probably was, but
yeah.
You know what? Maybe we're just better just picking randomly out of a hat, like we did for this one, than using what golf knowledge we have.
Yeah.
Because clearly it did not work with the players, did it?
Well, there you go. And in fairness, obviously it kind of leads into the main one this week, which is obviously the Honda Classic. The only problem being the first round is already underway, and somebody has shot an amazing first round, and I don't know how fair it would be to make predictions.
Oh no, you've got to pick just how many times has the first round leader won a tournament, Sebastian?
Well, when it was a 9 under first round of 61, he puts himself in very good standing. So
he does, but it's an incredibly hard course.
Fine. So who went first last week? Who went for?
So I went first last week, and I picked my man Rory to defend his title.
I know we can just wipe out last week. None of us particularly. We all chose players in the top 10 in the world, I think, and none of them made the cut.
And then who went first for the Qatar Masters?
We didn't count that. We just did randoms.
Yeah.
So, but just because it was a bit of a.
Just bear in mind, it's got a 3-hole stretch, the Bear Trap, which is the 4th hardest 3-hole stretch in tour golf at the moment.
Yeah.
Since 2007.
It's got like a plus 3,000
3,629 over par.